Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for what is still early for a winter morning. We have a stellar panel of accomplished, acclaimed publishers, writers, um, marketing geniuses, all rolled in one. It's difficult to separate one from the other. Anirudh, I'm going to start with you. I was looking at the catalog that you have, and full respect, by the way, amazing. It's full of provocative, idea-led non-fiction titles, and they are not always very safe in terms of mainstream publishing. And what is it that makes you build this editorial conviction, which mostly goes counter to what's happening in the market? And what makes you take these risks and then turn them into bestsellers?
So, if safety was paramount, we wouldn't have come into publishing to start with. So, since safety is something that we have kind of left behind, the reason why we have been able to publish some of the titles which creates narrative on multiple sides is primarily because when we started off, we were completely unknown, and very few authors were keen to publish with us. So we kind of picked up what we thought in terms of content was the best, irrespective of whether it's a safe idea or an unsafe idea. We just went with it. A couple of titles worked, and then that's kind of become a trend now. So it doesn't matter how provocative an idea is, how difficult an idea is in mainstream publishing. We kind of now so what started as a necessity, what started as something that we had to do, we didn't have a choice, has kind of become a badge now. We go ahead and do it willingly. That's how.
So what do you do to market those to become the proverbial bestseller?
One of the things that we have seen is that if an idea, doesn't matter whether it is it's a safe or an unsafe idea, if it resonates with the current or the ongoing cultural or even political situation in the organization, doesn't matter which side of the aisle one comes from, it creates a buzz on its own. It kind of builds a momentum. And then the social media presence of many of these authors has given the impetus for the book to have many of the books to have long links. That helps.
It's good to know that you have a very simple approach to things, because we're living in very complicated times. Millie, I'm going to move to you. You are a stalwart with too much experience under your belt already. You publish all sorts of authors. There's debut voices, there's established award-winning authors. What is it different that you do for debut versus the other batch of authors to build up momentum for both sides, to make them into known books, and again, as Anirudh said, to let each book have that set of long legs to continue to survive and sell?
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to see so many of you here this morning, and as always, I'm delighted to be here at JLF and JBM. So thank you for having me here. Yeah, we have a very diverse list. You know, when I say we publish 250 books, that does give me the range and the space to take some risks. So we publish not only established writers, best-selling authors who continue to write with us, but we also publish new writers, so debut voices. And I think with debut writers, in terms of our thinking, I feel that we need more involvement, because while we, of course, offer them support on editing, take them through the whole processes, is the first time for them. So the editor walks with them hand in hand, and they work together very closely. They spend more time, mostly on edits and on books, and also explain to them all the processes because they are new to publishing. But I think with debut writers, even the post-publication world is new. So as you're also saying that there's things to do and new things to do on the marketing front now. It's not only about writing, it's also about positioning your book, how you format it, the pricing, how you pitch it to the readers, and how you communicate all that through the blurb and through the author who also talks about the book post-publication in terms of various events and talks. So I think the whole hand-holding is a bit more as compared to seasoned writers because they've gone through the whole process and they know what to do before and after. But with new writers, I think we like to spend more time and guide them through the process.
Lovely. I know I've seen you in action. Swati, you also have worked with a range of literary fiction, popular writing, non-fiction in your last role. What are the different promotion strategies that have worked? Because I understand that it's the marketing team of the said publishing house that has to swing into action to convert what we are talking about today, bestsellers. The editor is the start point. The editor is the bouncing pad. So because you work with that content, and that's how you guide the marketing people to look at the book. So what is it in your, I would call the editor's nose, in sniffing out what will be a bestseller in your eyes, and then how do you make it one?
Thanks, Meeta. I'd just like to say that I've largely worked with nonfiction throughout my career, so whatever I say should be taken as that. And as Millie said, that a lot of times we do work with debut authors, particularly in non-fiction, because somebody might be at the apex of their field. They may have headed the RNAW, etc., but it might be their first book. And so in that sense, they are a debut author. They're absolute subject matter specialists. But there is a certain, so with them, there would be a different kind of ideation process and hand-holding and discussion that happens. It's at a different level while creating the book, and certainly while promoting the book as well. As Anirudh also mentioned, that these days when we look at nonfiction, especially if it is political nonfiction or geopolitics, or if it's about the events of the world or the events of the country, if it's capturing the zeitgeist of the moment, the promotion strategy has to reflect that. A lot of times, it happens by chance that we have a book out and something happens and the book becomes even more relevant. I published a book called Inshallah Bangladesh recently, and it was supposed to commemorate 1 year of the toppling of Sheikh Hasina's government. But as it happened, we all assumed that 1 year down the line things would have stabilized, but things got even worse around the book's publication, and the book got a lot of attention because of that. So I think it's the alignment of the pitch of the book with sometimes fortuitous events, but sometimes also, we align, especially nonfiction, with a certain kind of pitch as to what is happening in the world and in the country, and also then, of course, the author's own stature, the author's own credibility also bears a lot of weight, and it's our job to actually position the author as such, as a subject matter expert. So I think these are a few ideas I have on this.
So Saksham, I think you're the youngest person on this panel today. I didn't know when he was sitting in my office a few years back that I was nurturing a marketing genius as well, apart from being an author. Just to give you a
He was listening very carefully.
I don't know about that. Well, we had fun times. So you have a great social media following. You've cracked the way the algorithms function and what have you happens on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter every single day, every single hour. What converts from online attention to actual sales? Because, we all know that a certain person, a certain author may have a few million followers or whatever, but does that actually translate into sales, and how do you make that happen? Because that's the end result we are looking for.
Firstly, very happy to be on this panel with mentors, friends, colleagues, and I think it's not just the algorithm, but there is a lot more to it, which is why perhaps a lot of these content creators fail to deliver and reach those numbers. In India, bestseller at 10,000 and a scaled book at 100,000 are two different phenomena. I think that's very important for us to distinguish first. And I work closely as an agent with great writers and content creators, and they're all very well aware of the pitfalls of the algorithm. And you've got platform risk, which is the dangers of being on just one social media app. The algorithm's changing faster than ever. The organic reach is fluctuating, and at the end of it all, I think what truly matters is how authors are not just using the algorithm for spikes and bursts of reach, which can get them to the 10,000 mark, the bestseller mark, but are using that opportunity to build channels and owned communities where they can leverage that for sales further and discoverability. It's not just the algorithm, there's so much more that I think in publishing we're overlooking, and the model is such that there's so many titles. So if you're conveniently placing your book in a marketing strategy that does not have many other competing titles, you do benefit from that advantage. For example, SEO and GEO are often overlooked. Generative engine optimization, which is when AI is recommending your book. GEO, SEO, not just on Google, but across platforms, Amazon, etc. Like, evergreen search terms like fantasy debut novels, mythology best-selling novels. They continue to be underexploited. And going back to the own channels, because it's not just about the algorithm getting you that spike of visibility, but owned communities that give you leverage that converts to sales. So that's the difference between those who have the reach and not being able to convert to sales. And as an agent, I am consistently evaluating authors not just on their manuscripts, but also on their understanding of audience continuity, whether they have it in them to adapt to new marketing strategies and can take their storytelling out of the page and have author-led narrations, not just announcements around their book. Identify key narrative points that you want to deliver. As an author, I often get stopped and asked whether I'm going to take another 10 years to write my sequel, right? But it reminds me of the narrative that we've built, that it took me 10 years. Or, DMs that I get through book fairs. That's another unexploited, I think, arena. Not just the World Book Fair or the Kolkata International Book Fair, but a lot of these private book fairs where, me and other authors have worked and had one-on-one interactions, and a lot of the DMs that I get are actually from those people and not just readers that I'll never meet, and all I remember of is just as a DM. And so I think that's like the real difference, and I've seen that the healthiest models for scaling a book, not just to the bestseller, but also to that 100,000 mark, is when publishers, because they're great at distribution, authors must own community, but when publishers scale a book and authors double down with algorithmic reach repeatedly, whether it's bursts of reels or different aspects, and then cement that reach through owned communities. And it's easy to do so and reverse engineer this, because ostensibly from the outside I understand that a lot of these Amazon top 100 crack-ins that come in for 5 hours, or that odd self-published title that is in the Nielsen top 10 charts, it may seem unpredictable, but as someone who has regularly, systematically, since my Penguin days and my Siahi days, has woken up every morning and looked at the Amazon top 100 to see which that odd title is, and if I can reverse engineer it to try and understand what made it work, what brought it there, then you have a host of strategies that you can adapt with and keep your book going to that 100,000 mark.
I can see that you're very passionate about this. Amazing. I'm happy. to see where you are. शैलेश जी, बेस्ट सेलर्स की बात चल रही है. हिंदी मार्केट अंग्रेज़ी की किताबों के मार्केट से बहुत अलग है, और आपके समझ में रीडर एक्सपेक्टेशंस और बाइंग बिहेवियर कैसे डिफ़र करता है इन दोनों मार्केट्स में, और आप कैसे पर्सनली डिफ़ाइन करेंगे हिंदी बेस्ट सेलर को?
नमस्ते. मैं अभी जस्ट ट्रेन से आ रहा हूँ, तो सोते हुए आ रहा हूँ, तो सोते हुए ऐसा लग रहा है अभी भी सो रहा हूँ. खैर, तो ऐसा मीता जी पहले था, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि 4-1 साल पहले, कि जो बाइंग बिहेवियर हिंदी रीडर्स का था वो इंग्लिश से अलग था. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि अब वो एक दोनों के बीच की जो एक झीनी सी वो थी, मतलब आप कह सकते हैं एक बॉर्डर था, वो अब शायद मिट गया, वो डिसअपेयर हो रहा है. ज़्यादातर अब हिंदी पढ़ने वाले, क्योंकि अब मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हिंदी पढ़ने वाले भी ज़्यादातर ऐसे लोग हैं जो 15 साल से 40 साल के बीच के हैं, और दे आर ऑल्सो रीडिंग इंग्लिश बुक्स एज वेल एज रीजनल बुक्स. मतलब आप सक्षम को मेरे बगल में बैठे हैं, इनके ही एजेंटिंग के थ्रू अगर हम तेलुगु के उस लेखक की बात करें, तो उसकी किताब रवि मंत्री की अगर मैं बात करूं, तो उनकी किताब की ऐसा नहीं है कि वो उनके नंबर्स कोई कम होंगे किसी भी इंग्लिश बुक से जो पिछले 2-3 सालों में बेस्ट सेलर हुए होंगे. मतलब अब 10,000 नंबर इज़ नॉट अ बिग नंबर. 1 लाख नंबर भी कोई बड़ा नंबर नहीं है. चूँकि अब पायरेसी भी बहुत इजी हो गई है, तो नंबर्स को आप एग्जैक्टली आप नहीं बता सकते, लेकिन योर ओरिजिनल नंबर इज़ ऑल्सो ग्रेटर दैन 1 लाख नंबर. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उसके ठीक ठीक कारण बता पाना कोई भी नहीं बता पाएगा, लेकिन इधर 4-5 सालों में इंटरनेट यानी सोशल मीडिया की वजह से ख़ास तौर पे जो ख़रीदने वाला वर्ग है, जो कोई भी सामान खरीद रहा है, जो ब्लिंकिट कर रहा है, या जो 10 मिनट में सब चीज़ें खरीद रहा है, उसके लाइफ में किसी भी किस्म की तैयारी नहीं है. मतलब उसको अभी कहीं जाना है किसी के घर, तो उसने ये नहीं तैयारी कर रखी कि मैं क्या दूंगा. वो ब्लिंकिट देखता है और 10 मिनट में ऑर्डर कर. मतलब इस तरह के जो जनरेशन्स के बीच हम हैं, उनके पास अब वो लैंग्वेज बैरियर जैसा कुछ नहीं है. जो भी कारण हो, जो भी इन्फ्लुएंस हो, वो अपने रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस के साथ साथ इंग्लिश में बराबर ही पढ़ रहे हैं. तो इसलिए अब जो रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस के बेस्ट सेलर हैं, उनके नंबर्स भी कमोबेश इंग्लिश के आसपास ही हैं. जैसे अगर मैं हिंदी पब्लिकेशन की बात करूं, तो इस साल जो 2025 बीता है, उसमें 5 से ज़्यादा किताबें, जैसे सक्षम अगर रोज़ाना टॉप 100 देखते हैं, तो 4 से 5 किताबें आपको हिंदी की मिलेंगी, और हिंदी की तो ज़रूर मिलेंगी 5 किताबें. और उनके नंबर्स ऐसा नहीं है कि उनको कोई स्पेशल प्रिविलेज दिया जा रहा है कि क्योंकि ये हिंदी या रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस के बुक्स हैं, तो मेरा अब एक्सपीरियंस वही है जो सब लोगों का होगा. दूसरा बस एक अंतर ये है कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि रीजनल टाइटल्स को लेकर के जो बुक स्टोर का बिहेवियर है, या जो उनका पुराना अनुभव है, वो जो फ्रिक्शन है, उसकी वजह से अभी भी वो वहाँ के फ्रंट लिस्ट में आम तौर पे नहीं दिखाई देती है जितना उसको दिखना चाहिए. जैसे एक एग्जांपल मैं अगर अपने पब्लिकेशन से लूँ, दीवार में एक खिड़की रहती थी. पिछले 10 मंथ्स में हमने, मतलब जो उसकी ओरिजिनल कॉपी की बात करें, 10 मंथ्स मतलब 10 मंथ्स पूरे नहीं हुए इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर के, तो 1,20,000 से अधिक उसकी कॉपीज़ हमने सेल की हैं. और पायरेसी बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो इट मस्ट बी मोर देन 5 lakhs. तो लेकिन अभी भी सारे बुक स्टोर्स, अगर हम मतलब हिंदी, या आप ऐसे कह सकते हैं हिंदी स्पीकिंग एरिया के बुक स्टोर्स को भी देखें, तो वो उस टाइटल को रखते हैं, लेकिन कभी उसका पाइल अप डिस्प्ले नहीं करेंगे, कभी वो फ्रंट में नहीं रखेंगे. वो आमतौर पे वो रीजनल सेक्शन में ही रहेगी, सिंगल या डबल कॉपी के साथ. तो कभी उसका ठीक तरीके से रिप्लेनिशमेंट नहीं है. तो मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि अब लेकिन एक फ़र्क देखने में आया है कि ज़्यादातर पब्लिशर जो मेन स्ट्रीम इंग्लिश पब्लिशर हैं, दे आर ऑल्सो फोकसिंग ऑन रीजनल टाइटल्स, क्योंकि उनको ये एक नए किस्म का बाजार दिख रहा है जो कि रीजनल लैंग्वेजेज में उभर करके आ रहा है, और ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि आने वाले समय में इनका परसेंटेज कमोबेश आधा आधा हो जाए या 40-60 टाइप हो जाए। तो मैं बड़ा होपफुल हूँ उस चीज़ को लेकर के, और मैं अब नंबर्स को मतलब लाख्स के नीचे देखना नहीं चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि ऐसा हमें कई सारे बुक्स के साथ दिखने लगा है। हमने लास्ट ईयर में जैसे जॉन एलिया की एक किताब है, जॉन एलिया गजब गजब शायर, अक्टूबर जंक्शन, ऐसी किताबों के हमने लाख के नंबर छुए हैं एक साल के भीतर। और इधर अभी हमने 2 किताबें रिसेंटली वर्ल्ड बुक फेयर से पहले पब्लिश की, वो दोनों किताबों के भी हमारे पास फर्स्ट प्रिंट रन जो 10,000 के थे वो कम पड़ गए, तो हमने मतलब उसकी रिलीज डेट आगे कर दी, और वो ये सारा नंबर्स तुरंत अमेज़ॉन से चला गया। बुक स्टोर्स को अभी बुक्स जा नहीं पाई हैं, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स को बुक जा नहीं पाई हैं, और सारे रीजनल टाइटल्स हैं। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि नंबर गेम अब रीजनल टाइटल्स के लिए भी काफ़ी बदलने वाला है, और कुछ हद तक बदल भी चुका है।
That's amazing to know.
If I can just add to that, शैलेश जी, you mentioned रवि मंत्री, आपने रवि मंत्री की बात करी, और एक काफ़ी funny, there's a very funny story, and so when Ravi's publisher in Telugu went to the pirated booksellers, and I think she's dealt in that arena before, so she knew where to go. The guy very politely asked her and requested of her that, hey, listen, I'll stop pirating all other titles, just let me have this one. And it's very interesting because this is a big challenge that's developing for the idea that we're talking about on this panel, right? And initially, like when I was at Penguin, what I would see for the top 100 titles that were coming in, at that moment, if you had a title that stayed at number 1 or the top 10 for over a month, you would find pirated copies in CP or in Bandra West, right? Which are the 2 initial sort of Daryaganj and Bandra West, right? But now, like an author that I represent was in the top 100 for a total of 2 days, right? So much so that his publisher forgot and we had to prove it through a couple of screenshots. But he called me last night when I was on my way back, and he was over the moon, and I wasn't sure it was the best thing, because I remember I wanted my book to be pirated and I regret it deeply now. But he was over the moon that he saw his books there, and this is a challenge now with the new printing models and accessibility, where any book that gets visibility of any sort in the top 100 finds itself pirated, and then we don't have access to actual figures as well, and you don't really know. So initially it used to be like 100,000 books, and then you'd find piracy roughly, but now even at 10,000 you have piracy.
Even on SRDP, आपकी ब्रांडिंग ऐसी हो गई कि हम जो किताबें SRDP मतलब शॉर्ट रन डिजिटल प्रिंट से पब्लिश कर रहे हैं, कि कुछ ऐसे टाइटल्स जिसको आप अच्छा मानते हैं, आपका एडिटोरियल लगता है कि ये हमारे पसंद का टाइटल है, लेकिन आपको मालूम है कि ये बाज़ार में उतना मूव नहीं करेगा, तो आप उसका 500, 300 के भी एडिशंस करते हैं। वो ऐसा इंग्लिश में भी किया जाता है। लेकिन जैसे दरियागंज का महिला हाट है, जहाँ पे सेकेंड हैंड बुक्स एंड पायरेटेड बुक्स मिलती है, उनको लगता है कि अच्छा इनके यहाँ से ये किताबें आ रही हैं तो ये ज़रूर चल रही होंगी, तो उनके पास पायरेटेड होती है उसकी। तो दे आर ऑल्सो हेल्पिंग, मुझे लगता है कि वो मदद ही कर रहे हैं आपको, तो मतलब एक तरह से उस चीज़ को प्रमोट करना हो गया। लेकिन अभी फ़िलहाल जिस तरीके की समस्या है पायरेसी, फ़िलहाल मैं उसको एक मतलब उसको समस्या की तरह देख करके अपने आप को परेशान नहीं करना चाह रहा हूँ, तो मैं उसको ये देख रहा हूँ कि ठीक है, वो भी एक किस्म का रास्ता निकल रहा है।
I just wanted to add that हम बहुत परेशान हैं।
हम भी परेशान हैं।
मुझे खुशी है कि अभी तक आप नहीं हैं परेशान।
I get it that piracy will help in promotion as a strategy,
Yes, yes.
but it doesn't benefit the author.
No,
You
it's
want-
that is
we
benefit
are
to publisher
focused.
also. Yeah.
No, it doesn't benefit the author or the publisher, and it is absolutely unethical. We can't leave our values behind, guys. Piracy, yes, please don't celebrate it for heaven's sake. I mean,
No, we are
कितना
not celebrating.
कितना स्ट्रैटेजी प्रमोशन के लिए आप यूज़ करोगे, बट इवेंचुअली ऑथर का बैंक अकाउंट बेनिफिट नहीं कर रहा है। एज पब्लिशर्स, एज एजेंट्स, हमारा सबसे पहला रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और ड्यूटी हमारे ऑथर्स की तरफ है कि हाउ आर वी हेल्पिंग देम ग्रो, बिकम recognized for what their writing is, and that is the mainstay of publishing in any country. And I'm going to move
Can I just add to
Yeah, I
this?
was actually going to move to you.
Piracy.
Okay, sure.
So, for somebody like us who's just about 3 years old and just 200 titles, something like piracy is almost an existential threat for us. There are books which we know for sure on the legitimate market, we have sold about 10,000 copies, and we have got to know that the same book has been sold by the pirated market, which is 3 or 4 times. So 40,000 copies in piracy, and just 10,000 for people like us. There are many books like that in our
Yeah, you need to go.
in our repertory. We have books which sold 3 to 4 times more in piracy than it sold through us. So, and for people like us, it's almost it's pretty close to killing us. So we are very badly impacted. Just to add to this.
Yeah, no, I get
everyone
that.
is
But
badly impacted.
can I just get the panel back to focusing on how bestsellers are made? Especially Anirudh, you are working with ideas specialists, I would call them, in an environment which survives on attention economy, where visibility is rewarded more over substance. And अगर उस ऑथर का कोई रियल प्लेटफॉर्म नहीं है, या सक्षम ने जैसे बोला था कि उसकी ऑथर ओन्ड कम्युनिटीज़ नहीं हो, तो फिर आपकी जो पब्लिशिंग बिलीफ और एडिटोरियल बिलीफ है, उसको आप कैसे यूज़ करते हैं टू मेक इट pillar for marketing for those kind of books?
So over the last 3 years, we've had a number of titles and a number of authors who do not have the social media traction or the community that that many of the others within our author list have had. Excellent authors, great stuff that they have written, but somehow the discoverability is a word I learned yesterday here. So that discoverability is something that has not been great for these authors, and we face a tremendous challenge. I mean, it really pains us to see a excellent, a well-written book kind of die a slow death because the author is not able to create a community. And then we try and do whatever we can at our level to promote, maybe have a repeat launch session, maybe speak to some of the influencers that we know and get the book reviewed. Various methods. There is no set rule for it. But if we see a book, an author who's written an excellent book, and it is not getting the legs that it should have, we put that extra effort.
That's good to know. Millie, how important is the pricing and accessibility to drive mass success in specifically creating new readership?
Well, I mentioned this briefly earlier too, but pricing, format, accessibility is all connected, nowadays. And it depends on the kind of book you are publishing, the subject, the author. So for a lot of serious books that Penguin publishes, literary fiction, non-fiction, business, we have Harish sitting amongst us here, a best-selling business author. And for some of those books, Arundhati Roy, Manu Pillai, Romila Thapar, we can, these are hardbacks, and a lot of these books are also thicker in terms of content, extent, so they are more than 300 pages or so, and we can charge a bit more. So with the current, PPB or costings that we have, usually we end up pricing them at 799, 699 or more. And these are selling. So this is one of my learnings in 2025. I have seen that books can be priced higher if the book is good, you have a great author writing on a subject that the readers want to read and there's a gap, or there's some topicality around it. People are willing to pick up the book, and we have had several bestsellers in this space. I've had bestsellers priced at $14.99, $12.99, $999, $799, and several of those, which was not very common years ago. So this is possibly a new trend that I have seen in publishing lately. And I'm very happy about it because for a good book, I feel readers are now ready to pay. And therefore, we do think through pricing a lot. But at the same time, we also have books still being priced at $299 where we feel it's a popular book, it's a debut writer, and I want to penetrate the market. I want people to take a chance on a new author. If they are a platform author, they have a certain following, then there are people who already know the writer and follow his work, his or her work, and the voice. But there are also so many people who might not have heard, of the writer. So I feel it's our responsibility to make it accessible, the book accessible to readers, and pricing is one of the ways we do it. We also, of course, do a lot of digital marketing these days and work with Amazon and so on to make it available. Lastly, what I feel has always been Penguin's strength is retail. I think our retail penetration is very, very good, and we try and get the book out not only to all the major chains, airports, but also independent bookshops where we've had deep relationships. And once a quarter or once a few months, if we are very bullish about a new voice, it could be a regional voice, a book in translation, we can go and tell them that, this is something we love and we're obsessed with it, and can you support us and also stock more and display well. So there are various things we do for different kinds of books, and our books currently are priced in the range of $299 to $1,499, and they're all selling in various categories.
Thank you, Millie. Swati, you have very specific editorial taste, every editor has. How do you respond to market pressures, and do trends existing in terms of sales tend to doctor your editorial decisions, or you go kind of book by book?
See, I think for us, market pressures are not necessarily a bad thing, because most publishers have, when any sort of book comes to an editor, any proposal comes to an editor, most publishing companies have a process where the individual editor is supposed to bring that proposal to an acquisitions meeting where it is discussed. And it is not just editorial that discusses it, but we also have our colleagues from marketing, from sales, very importantly, and that's where that's our point of feedback. Even before we decide to take on a book, that how this book will do or is likely to do, basis of all the factors around it. So of course, well written, well thought out, well articulated is one part of it. But there are several other factors. For example, is this the right time to publish this book? Or is this the right author to write about this particular subject? Or should we look at somebody else? So these are all the finer points that are also discussed in these meetings, and not just by editorials. Sometimes, we have marketing and sales telling us that, possibly this is a great subject but not the right author, or possibly great author, not the right subject. So the market pressures that, you have mentioned, we see these, or a lot of us actually see these as tools for us to hone our lists and what we put out there. Because ultimately we are part of businesses, and we would like for all of our books to find a readership, and a lot of times the onus is on us to ensure that not just of course the quality of the book has to, that's a given, but it also needs to be fine-tuned in many other ways. Which is something that we rely on our colleagues as well in sales and marketing to give us that feedback.
Saksham, my next question to you is about you not being into the marketing of bestsellers, but you as a writer. When you were writing Samsara, did you feel that pressure? Did it disturb you at all that, how do I make this a bestseller?
Yeah, no, I think, Millie mentioned the post-publication world, and I completely agree. I was aware of it as an editor working at Penguin, and I'd seen many authors struggle and also see different marketing campaigns excel. And I kept an eye out for everything that was working and made a note of every single pitfall that was potentially on my way to prepare for that eventual publication date. But one of the biggest realizations that I had was that perhaps it isn't so much post-publication as it is just a change in design thinking. It is a change in my mindset. The positioning needs to happen before the first word is even edited, not as late as publication. And publishing houses are doing that. Within the acquisitions team, marketing gets involved, and there is feedback coming in all of those ways. But for me personally, Meeta, I was ready for the challenge, and I worked simultaneously on the manuscript during my time at Penguin, but also on gearing up for the marketing that was to come. And I go back to, the distinction between a bestseller and that scaled book of over 100,000. And the ambition was always about that. And it comes back to me about the difference again between attention and ownership of communities. And I realized that there are exact ways that I can try and develop that community even before publication. And it included, examples of these communities obviously include email lists, newsletters, private groups, Telegram, Discord channels like I have for Samsara. Even, like Millie mentioned, that interaction with the distributor and the bookstore staff that an author can have, and that owned community as well. It's not just these online channels where you've got people. And that's one of the advantages of the business of books, our industry over other industries, which is that the idea is to drive visibility and create communities around a book, not necessarily around you. And I think it's important if you're able to make that distinction, right? Because what I've done personally is create different communities detached from one another so that the algorithm doesn't confuse itself. One around scriptures and different interesting things that I find in the scriptures, and one around publishing, and one around chiefly Samsara and everything Samsara related, interactive quizzes, polls, which come with zero-party data, which is amazing because readers are voluntarily giving me information about themselves, and it again leads to different communities. And even GEO for that matter, I created a website early on, and during my time in the publishing house, I realized that, oh wait, perhaps an author website isn't the most ingenious of idea, or perhaps bookmarks are increasingly vilified, and we don't want to do them because perhaps publicity is doing nothing but printing bookmarks, and that's all they're doing with the limited budget. But what that did is create this vacuum where very few had websites, and now that's come around where a website leads to GEO. Your AI is recommending your book if you've got a page like that. Bookmarks, for example, we ran an experiment with Bookish Santa, a controlled experiment to finally answer whether or not bookmarks really work. And I have bookmarks everywhere, and I know they work because Bookish Santa did a dedicated 5,000 print run, put it in competing books with the QR code that we could track, right? And all of this goes back to that larger conversation, right? Which is we need to start seeing books, and that's what I was doing, and the marketing of books long before the first word is edited. And perhaps in person I could talk to anyone who's interested about what are authors specifically doing in their books to make it easier to market later.
Right. That's very revelatory. Thank you. शैलेश जी, जो ये अपनी वेव चल रहा है नई वाली हिंदी का, वो किस तरह से कंटेम्प्रेरी हिंदी पब्लिशिंग को रीशेप कर रहा है, if at all, and how is this then working in synergy to make these books into bestsellers? और क्या रीडर्स आजकल ये इस चीज़ पे इंसिस्ट कर रहे हैं
कि उनको नई वाली हिंदी पढ़नी है?
हाँ.
मेरे ख्याल से जो जैसे इससे पीछे वाली बात में भी मैं बोल रहा था कि पढ़ने वाले लोग अब बेसिकली अक्रॉस द लैंग्वेज ये इस एज ग्रुप के ज़्यादा हैं, 15 से लेकर के 40 वाले. तो जो हिंदी पढ़ने वाले लोग हैं वो नई वाली हिंदी से अपनी पहचान जोड़ते हैं. नई वाली हिंदी ने पिछले 7-8 सालों में इस तरीके से अपने आप को इस्टेब्लिश किया उनके बीच कि एक्चुअल में आप जो पढ़ रहे हैं, चाहे वो किसी भी आप ऐसी मतलब बोली से आते हैं, जैसे आप हरियाणवी हैं, राजस्थानी हैं, आप बिहारी हैं, लेकिन आपका एक्सप्रेशन जहाँ पर है, जहाँ मैच करता है, आपकी चीज़ें मैच करती हैं, आपका जीवन मैच करता है, आपके एक्सप्रेशंस हैं, वो नई वाली हिंदी में है। तो मुझे लगता है कि बेस्ट सेलर बनाने में, या मतलब उस गोल तक पहुंचने में नई वाली हिंदी मूवमेंट का बहुत बड़ा रोल है, और आज का जो पढ़ने वाला है वो खुद से अपनी पहचान जोड़ पाता है उससे। तो निश्चित तौर पे, क्योंकि अभी मैं विश्व पुस्तक मेले से आ रहा हूँ, कल तक वहीं पे था, तो अगर आप वैसे पूरे पुस्तक मेले में भीड़ थी, लेकिन नई वाली हिंदी के स्टॉल पे ऐसा था कि लगभग सुबह के 10:30 से, यानी ऑफिशियली 11 बजे शुरू होने से भी 30 मिनट्स पहले से और 8:30 बजे तक लगातार एक बराबर लोग बने हुए थे। मूवमेंट एक तरीके से कर नहीं पा रहे थे। ऐसा बहुत सारे और भी स्टॉल्स पे था, लेकिन नई वाली हिंदी के स्टॉल्स पे ये धीरे धीरे बढ़ता गया है। तो इसको आप अगर ग्राउंड टेस्ट की तरह देखें तो निश्चित तौर पे लोग उससे रिलेट कर रहे हैं। और अब ये हो रहा है कि जो नई किताबें हम छाप रहे हैं, जिन्होंने कुछ अपनी पहचान बना ली, वो तो शायद उनका अपना रीडर बेस है, लेकिन एक जो हमने अपनी पहचान बनाई, उसकी वजह से जो हम नई किताबें पब्लिश कर रहे हैं, उसको भी एक सर्टेन नंबर्स ड्यू टू नई वाली हिंदी ब्रांडिंग उनको मिल रही है।
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to questions. We have only 4 minutes left. So, one sentence per question, keep it short. And no comments, just questions.
Sorry, I have to leave for another session.
जी,
Can somebody get the mic, please?
जैसे कोई किताब छापने के लिए, हेलो, मैं अपनी किताब छापता हूँ। एक डायलॉग है कि मेरे पास बंगला है, गाड़ी है, आपके पास क्या है? माँ है। मेरे पास कंटेंट है बस। तो मैं किताब छापना चाहता हूँ, मेरे को कुछ नहीं पता है, कैसे छापूंगा?
ये बहुत बेसिक सवाल है जिसका जवाब सबके पास एक जैसा होगा। आपको पब्लिशिंग हाउस को अपनी मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट जो आपने लिख रखी है वो भेजनी होगी। सबके पास अपने एडिटोरियल टीम होती है, वो उसको इवैल्यूएट करेगी और उसको अगर ठीक लगता है तो वो पब्लिश करेगी, आपके साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करेगी और किताब छापेगी। सिंपल है, सबके पास, हमारे पास ही नहीं, किसी के पास भी। जी,
My question is for Saksham. You mentioned, the top 100 bestsellers. Can you give a few examples of books that they were completely counterintuitive in terms of the assumptions about the outcome of the book? I mean, just for us as budding authors.
Yeah, I think most of them are very counterintuitive. I represent Ravi Mantri, Ritvik Singh, Deblina Chatterjee, Gautam Grover. They've never left top 100 since they've launched their books. They weren't supposed to work, traditionally speaking.
Okay, we have 3 more questions. Oh God, so many. Okay, can we go to this gentleman, please?
Hi. We just talked about how publication is too late for marketing at that point. So in the age of Instagram and instant gratification, is there a point where it is too early to start marketing, where it starts losing momentum after a point?
I'll let the publishers take that one.
बहुत अर्ली शुरू करने का भी कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि लोगों की मेमोरी बड़ी शॉर्ट है। आपने 1 महीने पहले कुछ कर दिया और भूल जाएंगे। तो बेस्ट ये है, अब हमने ये भी देखा है कि प्री ऑर्डर्स का फ़ायदा नहीं होता, स्पेशली फॉर द रीजनल टाइटल्स। लोग, अगर आपको दिख रहा है कि आपको 10 दिनों के बाद वो डिलीवरी मिलने वाली है, लेकिन ऑर्डर के बाद तुरंत आपको पैनिक करने लगते हैं लोग कि सर कब आएगी, या जो भी आपके टीम में काम कर रहे हैं कि कब आएगी। तो मेरे ख्याल से इतना इंतज़ार अब लोगों के पास है नहीं। जब मैंने अभी आपसे कहा कि हर चीज़ के लिए लोग ब्लिंकिट कर रहे हैं, अब कस्बों तक भी पहुँच गया है ब्लिंकिट या उस तरह के ऐप, वैसे में अब 6 महीने पहले से आप अगर उसका कुछ कर रहे हैं इंस्टाग्राम पे प्रचार प्रसार, तो बहुत ज़्यादा उसका कोई मुझे फ़ायदा नहीं दिखता पर्सनली।
I just want to add, I think you shouldn't promote the book so early or talk about it very early if it's going to come later, but you can start building your own platform and communities like Saksham was saying. क्योंकि in fact जब publishers भी book acquire करते हैं, हम तो आजकल देखते हैं, we also see what communities the author has, whether it's for fiction and non-fiction. तो आप डायरेक्ट बुक प्रमोशन और बुक मार्केटिंग के लिए नहीं, बट अपना कम्युनिटी बिल्ड कर सकते हैं. यू शुड डू इट. इन फैक्ट यू कैन डू इट अ ईयर बिफोर टू.
Okay, I'm sorry, the other questions will have to be taken outside because we are, as usual, time's up. Thank you for being such a relevant audience. And thanks, everyone. It's a great learning to be with all of you. Thank you.